Out of nowhere, thousands of unidentified beings descended from the skies. Within just a single day, 99% of the human population was wiped out. At first glance, Sunin High School in South Korea appears ordinary. Its students go about their lives. Some chase after love, some bully others, and some obsess over the national university entrance exams that will determine their future. Exactly a year earlier, strange violet-colored orbs appeared above Earth's atmosphere. Initially thought to be alien warships ready to strike, humanity prepared for the worst. When nothing happened, paranoia set in. In an attempt to take control, several nations launched attacks on the floating orbs, only to find that these efforts caused the objects to multiply. World governments quickly shifted to a strategy of containment and observation, unsure of what they were dealing with. Over the months, life returned to a tense normalcy. Despite the looming threat above, everyday life carried on. Students at Sunin High stayed focused on their grades and upcoming exams, ignoring the menace in the sky. Among them is a newcomer, Young Hun, a top-tier student who speaks to no one and refuses to engage. Du Cho, a cheerful and slightly overweight boy, keeps trying to befriend Young Hun, but is met with silent annoyance. Kim Ji-yeo, another quiet classmate, steps in to stop Du Cho from bothering him. Kim Ji-yeo harbors a hidden admiration for Nara, the school's most admired girl. Far from the school, in a secluded South Korean region, one of the floating orbs suddenly crashes. The military quickly surrounds the impact zone. Scientists test the orb and find no immediate threat, but tension remains high. A high-ranking general decides to test the object's limits, first shooting it with a rifle, then escalating to a grenade launcher. The response is catastrophic. The orb transforms and retaliates, annihilating the entire unit. Meanwhile, at school, life remains normal, too normal. Students argue over silly things, like the smell of a classmate nicknamed Fog, who keeps disrupting lessons with his flatulence. Miss Park, their homeroom teacher, tries to maintain order and urges them to focus on their academic goals. But things take a dark turn when the principal calls for an emergency staff meeting. Curious Kim Ji-yeo tries to eavesdrop, but can't hear a thing. Moments later, Miss Park returns and turns on the television. The defense minister appears on live broadcast, announcing a full-scale alien invasion. He declares martial law and initiates national mobilization. High school seniors are now required to sign up for emergency training, 4 weeks of military preparation held within school grounds. Most students think it's a hoax and laugh it off. Miss Park, visibly shaken, dodges questions and leaves the classroom to hide her tears. College entrance exams are canceled, but students can earn application points through military participation. Text messages from students at other schools confirm the orders are real. Tensions rise. Taha, the class bully, tries to provoke Young Hun, but this time, Young Hun snaps back, sparking a full-blown fistfight. Before things calm down, military trucks roll into the schoolyard, filled with armed soldiers. Surprisingly, Kim Ji-yeo stands by Young Hun, attempting to form a bond. That night, students go home to talk with their families. Some parents eagerly push their kids to enlist, chasing the academic advantage. Young Hun, who dreams of studying in Seoul, realizes he has no choice. Others, like Tua's mom, see it as a way to discipline their kids. She forces him to join, calling it a path to manhood. The next day, students arrive at school with bags packed, mentally bracing for the month ahead. Every student signs the enlistment form, no exceptions. They're introduced to Lieutenant Lee Chan-ho and his squad of strict sergeants who take over as their trainers. When Lee asks Young Hun to keep a daily log, he refuses until he hears it could boost his college score. Kim Ji-yeo, who is given the task instead, encourages him to reconsider. After orientation, students are split into gender-separated barracks, housed in old elementary school classrooms. Despite warnings, many act out, drawing the ire of the sergeants. They're each issued rifles, unloaded for safety, but must carry them everywhere. Discipline drills exhaust them, teaching respect for the weapon and for the situation. A disturbing video leaks online. Soldiers executing stray animals. Ducho concludes the military is preparing for worst-case scenarios. Young Hun reports a contraband phone, which ignites another clash with Tu-ha. The lieutenant punishes them both with cleanup duty. During a scuffle, Kim Ji-il steps in, but everything changes when another orb crashes on school grounds. This time, it opens up, and out slithers a massive starfish-like alien. It lunges at Young Hun, snatching and absorbing him before anyone can react. The lieutenant shoves Kim Ji-il to safety, but it's too late. The alien returns to its orb form, now containing Young Hun inside. The horror is clear, he's gone. Miss Park is shaken, but knows the students are even more traumatized. The lieutenant pleads with her to keep the event a secret to prevent panic. Miss Park begs the students to stay silent. As they walk back, Tua warns the top student, "Speak up and you'll regret it." Upon their return, Kim Chi-yo and Tua raise their voices to mislead the group. They claim Young Hun was injured and sent away early for medical treatment. Haunted by the recent loss, Lieutenant Lee wrestles with guilt. He reflects on the attack at the training grounds. He vividly remembers when the first alien pod crashed. After it was hit with a missile, the sphere mutated into a starfish-like beast. It launched a deadly assault, sparing only Lee from his unit. By dawn, similar orbs had begun falling across the nation, unleashing chaos. It was no longer an isolated event. It was a full-scale invasion. The government responded by accelerating military training programs. Commanders knew Earth's defense now rested in the hands of the young. Though Lee had doubts, he understood the urgency. These invaders were overwhelmingly powerful. Only those with combat training stood a chance. Lee doubled down on training, taking command of the student unit. Grueling drills began, including precision rifle handling. A pebble balancing exercise was introduced to test their steadiness. Initially, everyone failed. Spirits were low. They struggled even with basic weapon assembly. Progress was slow and disheartening. One night, Tua cornered Kim Chi-yo, threatening him into silence. Kim escaped and took shelter in a nearby classroom. After Tu-ha left, he snuck back to the dorms. On the way, he imagined being attacked by a jellyfish-like monster. Snapping awake from the nightmare, he stepped outside. Wandering the dark school grounds, he found Nara sitting alone. She was mourning her missing classmates, unaware they'd been killed. The truth had been hidden. Those sent home were actually victims. Unbeknownst to her, the military had captured one of the creatures. They stored it securely to prevent further harm. The next morning, Lee organized a timed weapon challenge. Each student had 60 seconds to assemble and disassemble a rifle. Everyone succeeded, except for one girl. Despite multiple attempts, she kept failing. Lee told her to continue until she made it within the limit. This dragged on until evening, delaying meals. Frustration brewed among the students. Some began to blame her, while others stood up for her. They reminded each other that the enemy was not each other, but the aliens. The following day marked their first live-fire drill. They marched toward the range, passing through an abandoned city. Confusion set in. Where had everyone gone? The military withheld the horrifying truth. Nearly all of humanity had perished. At the range, the students fired their first rounds. Many missed their targets, but Lee gave constructive feedback. He promised extra points for improved accuracy. Their second attempt was better. Nara hit the bullseye. Her accuracy impressed everyone, especially Kim Chi-yo. While heading back, the convoy stopped abruptly. They spotted bullet holes and signs of battle. Lee and Sergeant Kim investigated, finding an alien pod. Two boys snuck away to raid a store for supplies. Mrs. Park and other students noticed their absence. The class president found a gun and a severed hand. Realization dawned. Things were far worse than they feared. Mrs. Park moved ahead to scout and encountered hundreds of alien creatures. These starfish-like monsters attacked in swarms. Students who had gone ahead were annihilated. Park opened fire to protect the others, but was quickly killed. Soldiers tried to fight back, were overwhelmed and killed instantly. Terrified, the students ran to a nearby supermarket. They split up, but each group was soon cornered. Sergeant Kim eliminated nearby aliens, rescuing a few. Lee arrived and helped reunite the scattered groups. But the death toll was crushing. Most students didn't make it. Kim Chi-yo and Nara were completely separated from the others. 3 girls attempted to escape but failed. One betrayed her group, locking herself in a vehicle. The others hid in a room as monsters smashed at the glass. Meanwhile, inside the supermarket, kids stumbled across a small alien. Mistaking it for harmless, they played with it until it attacked. They eventually trapped and killed it by shutting it in a fridge. Another group hid in an underground garage. As they tried to regroup, more aliens appeared. Despite panic, some students managed to fight back. When an alarm rang, the creatures retreated. The groups emerged and regrouped. Lee rescued the girls trapped behind glass but got cornered. Nara, with perfect timing, took out the alien threatening him. All surviving students and soldiers joined forces to sweep the area. Hearing noises, they assumed more monsters lurked nearby. Lee threw a helmet to draw them out, but instead, it revealed lost students. One frightened girl fired a shot, nearly hitting her friends. It became clear many weren't ready for this. Back at base, the survivors shocked everyone with their battered appearance. Other students had no idea what they'd endured. Lee chose not to transfer. He couldn't abandon them now. In class, several announced their intent to quit training. Lee reminded them of their signed contracts. They were soldiers now, and soldiers couldn't just walk away. Still, many argued for the right to return home. They drafted a petition to leave instead of taking exams. Lee tore it up, refusing to allow their departure. Training resumed, but morale was fading fast. Lee saw their despair, but knew they had no alternative. During a visit to the research labs, he learned the grim truth. Only a specific bullet type could kill the aliens, and even that was only effective on smaller creatures. A new, more powerful weapon was now a priority. Lee informed the students. Going home was futile. Their families had already been relocated to unknown safe zones. That evening, a handful of students secretly hatch a plan to verify the lieutenant's claims. Convinced they're being misled, 4 boys attempt a covert escape from the facility, using Dua Chow as a distraction to draw attention. Despite their stealth and planning, the guards intercept them before they can make it past the perimeter. Lieutenant Lee confronts them, sternly reminding the group that desertion is considered treason and the punishment is execution. Outraged, the boys share everything they've learned with the rest of the class, including the true scale of the alien invasion outside the school's fences. But before they can act, disaster strikes. A new wave of purple alien pods crashes into the campus, unleashing a fresh horde of monsters. Chaos erupts across the school grounds. The military does what it can, launching bullets, grenades, and mortar. But the alien creatures are overwhelming in number. Students and soldiers fall in droves, realizing that staying means certain death. Lieutenant Lee and Sergeant Kim devise a new plan, and that is to gather those still alive, arm them, and break into 2 groups to reach the convoy trucks. Though the first truck makes it out, Sergeant Kim is forced to stay behind to hold off the advancing swarm. Meanwhile, Lieutenant Lee spots a student who has fallen behind, her leg broken and mobility gone. He rushes to help, but by the time he reaches her, it's too late. The creatures have already descended. Kim rejoins Lee just in time and urges him to prioritize the others. The lieutenant, torn and devastated, presses on. Only 2 fragmented student groups make it off campus alive. The experience leaves Lieutenant Lee emotionally shattered. These weren't just trainees, they were kids. And now most of them are gone. Beyond the school, the city lies in ruins, flames licking the sky while alien spheres continue to pummel the earth in waves.